We are so excited to finally tell you our first glamp site is at...
Hey glamping lovers, it's Andres again.
And Chelsea.
So the very first glamp site we ever came across was back in 2018 in Array, Colorado. We were RVing full time and we stayed at an RV park, and the owner of the RV park was turning some of the sites into glamping tents. He was going with safari canvas tents and a really simple wooden deck, and he told us the numbers and the profits that he was expecting to get, and it was unreal.
So now it's 2021. We just bought a piece of land, a house just outside of the Smokies, and are building our first glamp site.
If you're looking to start a glamp site business, we would like to know what's holding you up, what's keeping you from pulling the trigger. We are so happy we're doing this right now. It's been our dream for a while and we're super excited.
It all started with the idea of building a glamp site on a raw piece of land 30 minutes from the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, at the time we came across geodesic domes in YouTube, and we absolutely fell in love with those structures, how amazing they look from the inside, from the outside, the views, everything about them is just so unique and cool. So we made a decision right then and there that we would set up a bunch of these domes and create a glamping dome village in the forest. So we started researching Pacific Domes specifically, a company out of Oregon that has these geodesic domes. And we looked into the prices and everything, and it's a little more expensive maybe than what we're ready to spend at the beginning of our journey here in the glamping business. So we decided maybe we need to change our plan slightly and go with something more affordable to begin with.
So once again, we looked at the costs of safari tents and thought it'd be faster and cheaper to set up initially when starting our business. And then that idea got nixed again because we saw a lot of competition in the area. In the Smoky Mountains, there's a giant business that is specifically canvas tents and safari tents, and there's quite a lot of other tents in our area. So we thought maybe that's not the best idea since we'd be competing with quite a large number as well.
On to the next design. A few days later, or maybe hours later, we found in YouTube an A-frame. And very simple A-frame, very small, with a polycarbonate wall that can be hinged and it opens to a beautiful view however you position it. And it looked very inexpensive and fairly easy to build. So now we're totally hooked into A-frames. Yes. We think for sure this is our next big idea. We want to develop a bunch of A-frames all over this piece of land. Now these A-frames can be quite small. They don't give you much room inside, at least the one that's popular all throughout YouTube. So we were already thinking to maybe build it a little bit higher and a little bit wider so we can offer a little more amenities inside and a bigger bed with a bigger kitchenette and potentially even like a toilet room inside the A-frame. And then from there, expand it outside with a big wood deck that people can enjoy the outdoors and a barbecue and some seating area. And so now the wooden deck becomes a big part of our design. When
Andres was thinking about the A-frame designs and he started sketching them up, we noticed that quite a lot of the square footage was being sloped down. So you lose a lot of the square footage. So then we were thinking, maybe not, on to the next design. So then we came back to the dome design. But this time we were thinking, let's make it bigger and taller because it's canvas. How can we make it safer for our guests? So then we thought, let's make it taller, put a wood wall all around, and it adds square footage so that the walls aren't curved. They would be straight, 8 foot up, and then you would have this massive dome on top, and it would be like a stargazing dome for our guests.
Yeah, so basically the dome at that point becomes more of a roof instead of the wall. Mm-hmm. And then we're talking a really good height in there. We can definitely add a loft with extra sleeping room. And also it'd be easier to put a kitchen or have just your typical electrical and plumbing that you have in a house, because now you're talking wood walls instead of the dome walls, which is just metal and canvas. So we're super happy about our designs coming together. We have this dome idea, but then we ended up buying a house about 45 minutes away from the Smoky Mountains. And we realized that that house actually had quite a bit of room, had 4 acres, pretty nice property. And we could instead maybe build the glamp sites there by the house where we already have all the utilities set up, and maybe leave the land to develop it later down the road. So this was exciting because it's a new idea, but it meant that basically all of our ideas from the past would now have to change to make sure they fit around the house and this new piece of property that we just bought.
So now here we are back to the beginning of what type of structure do we build on our land where our house is. The main difference here is there are not a lot of trees. It's very pastured field, but there is a creek on the property.
Yeah, so the domes wouldn't go very well in the middle of an open field because it gets hot here, and the dome is a giant greenhouse.
Yes.
So to cool that dome in the middle of the summer would be very, very difficult, and it would have a lot of exposure to the sun basically all day long. So we're throwing the idea of the domes away for now. Maybe we keep that exclusively for the piece of land. There's a really nice creek bordering the perimeter of this property, and we think we could take advantage of those views and that peaceful sound of the water running and set some glamping structure right on the creek.
So we circled back to A-frames with the polycarbonate opening and thought, okay, let's for sure put them right on the creek, and it opens to the creek.
The idea sounds great and we're all about it, but two things came here that we're a little worried about. The first one is flooding. This creek does flood once or twice a year from what we hear from the neighbors, and we've seen some pictures, and it is a lot of water that comes down this entire pasture and it floods the whole road. So we're a little worried. We like to see how bad it floods before we build something. And the second issue is that we need to run utilities from the house all the way down to the creek. We're talking anywhere from 400 to 800 feet of water line, power line, and sewer line. Mm-hmm. So this adds to the complexity of the project, and we are now thinking we should not build by the creek. We should go higher up in our piece of land and do something a little bit safer.
Because of flooding, we wanted to make sure that we had a higher up piece of land as well as a flat piece of land, just to make it easier on ourselves. So we thought, okay, what about putting our Class C RV on our spot, and we have a flat piece of land higher up, about 60 feet from our house. Luckily, it's very close to our utilities, the water, the electric, and the sewer, and they have their own private, easy access right onto our property, and they still get to enjoy the beautiful views of the trees and the creek that we have on the property.
Somewhere along these 1,000 changes on design and structures and locations, we came across a glass house as well that you found on Pinterest a long time ago. It's been kind of like a side project for someday. So it would be a cool idea to put one of those someday, maybe not right now, but it was definitely in the plans. It would again be similar to the dome in the fact that it is a greenhouse and it would get very hot. So it's better if it's in a shaded area, maybe under some trees, maybe at our other property. Then Lowe's and their tricky marketing totally got me hooked into sheds. I was going to Lowe's basically every day and parking right next to the sheds over there in the parking lot. And I started to wonder if we could turn those into one of the glamping sites. I have seen tons of YouTube videos where people turn these sheds into tiny homes. It's a very popular thing to do, mostly in Texas, with areas where you don't have a building code. And I thought maybe that's the way to go. So I told Chelsea about it. We drove 5 minutes to Lowe's and we started looking at all the options that they had for sheds. And we were pretty surprised actually. They're pretty roomy inside. They still have that wood feel, glamping feel, rustic feel. And the best part of all is that they're already done. They're assembled, they're painted, they're ready to go and be dropped off at your property wherever you want to put it. So before we were totally set in the shed idea, I thought I could build it much cheaper than I could buy it. So we counted every single stud, every piece of plywood and T11 and metal roofing and windows and doors. And I did the math and I plugged it all into my Lowe's app to see how much it would come out to. And buying it already assembled instead of me building it was a difference under $1,000. And we think at this point it's not worth it to put more stuff in our plate, and we'd rather just buy it and have it ready to go.
So we went to a prefab shed dealer here in town and we bought one.
Yes, that is the final design. We're finally settled on a shed.
We bought a shed! So the last design change was, instead of building a deck, we decided upon a gravel deck and a gravel outdoor area. I came across a YouTube video and I saw this beautiful outdoor area, and instead of a deck, they had really pretty gravel, and they had a really beautiful outdoor dining space and fire pit and lounge area, and it looked so cool with the gravel. So I told Andres, and he said that it would actually save us quite a bit of money and time. So we're going with that idea. So that's another design change.
Yeah, so we are totally settled on a 16 by 10 shed. It's going to be delivered this week. The outdoor patio is going to be 500 square feet, which is a lot of room. We're planning lots of stuff out there with a nice polycarbonate roof. We're also going to offer some shade. We're going to offer some heating for the winter months. We have a really, really great vision for this space, and we're very excited.
So with design, it's ever changing, and we're constantly coming up with new ideas to make it cooler, better, different. We want it to be an amazing experience for our guests, so we're constantly evolving and constantly changing.
Yeah, and we're tailoring it to our needs, our budget, our time frame, our property. We've seen other YouTubers go through this process as well, and it's really fun. It's a good time to have all these ideas. We're basically getting a bunch of ideas from Pinterest, from YouTube, from other people, or from other locals even that we've seen when we drive around. So it's a fun process, but it takes a long time, and it can at times be frustrating because you're basically coming back to square one and starting all over again. So if you come across any of these design ideas so far, go ahead and give it a like and give us a comment. Let us know what you are settling on. We know there's so many ideas out there.
The ideas all can be great, and you can mesh your budget and your needs alongside the customer needs in a really cool experience.
We will be posting videos in the future about the progress of our first glamp site that we're building right now. So if you don't want to miss those videos, go ahead and click subscribe.
We hope that you got something out of this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell. But until next time. We are Andres and Chelsea. We uprooted our lives from Arizona to Eastern Tennessee.
We sold our long-term rentals and are putting everything on the line to start our dream glamping business.
Join us each week as our family navigates this big new adventure, and we share everything we learn so you can also build a successful glamping business.